a 2,000 shilling fee for replacing lost identity cards. This is after the notice caused an uproar among Kenyans as it appeared blurry and without an official stamp. In a bid to address the confusion, the government printer stamped and certified the copy on Thursday, the 9th of November 2023, confirming its authenticity. Meanwhile, the High Court issued conservatory orders on Thursday, stopping the implementation of the new charges. Justice Lawrence Mugambi of the High Court in Nairobi gave the orders following a petition by Nakuru-based Surgeon Magari Gikenyi.
When I saw those changes last night actually, I was also surprised at the rates at which they were being increased. But I think a lot of consultation is happening. So I just want to tell Kenyans what they have said through social media, through various other medium, has been heard.
Sasa watoto 3,000 wanafaa wakule, wanafaa waende university. Hizo zote president vile umesema tutatoa wapi? Kitu kama birth certificate. Birth certificate tulikuwa tunazaa mtoto baada ya wiki 3 unaenda kuchukua free. Sasa unatuambia ni pesa.
Mtu kama mimi niko na watoto 7 na wote wako wanahitaji vitambulisho. Watoto wangu watafanyaje? Nitatoa wapi shilingi 7,000 ili hali hata kitu ya kukula ya kuweka kwa meza ndio hakuna.
Kuna mambo tunaambiwa inafaa kuwa na public participation.
On to other news. On to other news. The Catholic Archbishop of Nyeri, Anthony Muheria, has criticized the Kenya Kwanza government for its aggressive tax collection practices, which have been met with complaints of harassment from taxpayers. He said that many businesses have been forced to close down due to the excessive tax burden. He appealed to the government to consider the poor, warning that unemployment could lead to social unrest if not addressed. The clergyman, at the same time, called on President William Ruto to reduce the cost of living, among other emerging issues that are presently plaguing the country.
In our society, both within the systems of leadership and among Kenyans, has been the most devastating sickness we continue to suffer from. Unfortunately, we don't seem resolved enough to truly and comprehensively rid ourselves of this great monster. We as church continue to call upon each Kenyan to commit himself or herself to eradicate this menace.
The state of education in Kenya is a cause for concern. One of the critical issues aggravating this situation is a discoordinated and abrupt changes of policies and directives in the entire system, all in specific areas of education. The most recent is the government's change in providing university subsidies, specifically through loans, such as the Higher Education Loans Board, HELB. These changes have created barriers for economically disadvantaged students, hindering their ability to access higher education.
We applaud all parties concerned for having heeded to the plea of Kenyans, religious leaders, and many other people of goodwill to come together and seek an amicable solution of their differences through dialogue in the ongoing bipartisan talks. This has given our country a lease of life and renewed hope for peaceful coexistence. Moreover, we believe that the spirit of dialogue can bring about greater progress in political, social stability and common purpose for the good of our.
Moving on to other news. The National Dialogue Committee has concluded talks and is now drafting its final report, which is scheduled to be handed over to President William Ruto next week. The committee, which is co-chaired by National Assembly Majority Leader Kimani Ichung'wah and Wiper Leader Kalonzo Musyoka, has until the 26th of November to present the report, but has said that it expects to be finished by the 22nd of November. Kalonzo expressed optimism that the committee has covered all of the areas that it was tasked with addressing, including emerging issues. Moving on to other news. The government has asked Kenyans to visit their nearest chief's office to get tree seedlings for the National Tree Growing Day on Monday, that's on the 13th of November 2023. Interior Principal Secretary Raymond Omolo has urged Kenyans to take part in the exercise, which will be led by President William Ruto at Q Wetland in Makindu in Makueni County. Cabinet secretaries will champion tree growing activities in at least 2 counties each.
We have set a target of growing 100 million seedlings on the 13th only, on the day of Monday 13th. So if each Kenyan took upon themselves between Friday and Monday, even to do 2 seedlings, only 2 at the bare minimum, we will be able to reach 100 million seedlings. We have been working on a legal framework to amend our Climate Change Act to put in a solid framework on how to ensure transparency, integrity, and clear benefit sharing of carbon trading proceeds for communities and for government. And one of the main things that we will get out of the legal framework is a carbon registry, a carbon trading registry at the national level.
Moving on to other news. Roads and Transport Cabinet Secretary Kipchumba Murkomen has defended the proposal to lease sections of Mombasa and Lamu ports to private entities. He told the National Assembly's Departmental Committee on Transport and Infrastructure that this will reduce the government's financial burden and will improve port efficiency. According to CS Murkomen, the private party will be expected to invest in the rehabilitation and equipping of berths 11 to 14 and Container Terminal 1, operate them for a specified period, and develop the special economic zone infrastructure, which he says will free up government resources for other developmental purposes.
We are facing serious competition in the region. Okay? I don't want to mention our neighbors because they are still our neighbors. But in a positive way, our neighbors are also, we've been for a long time the automatic port of choice for countries that are in the region. But that is not the case anymore. Our neighbors, even our neighbor Somalia, is launching their port, I think, in a week's time, the newly built port. Our friends in Djibouti, when we were doing, I think, 800,000 TUs, they were doing 200,000. Now we're in 1.4, they're in 800. So you can see people are catching up with us. Our friends in Tanzania are doing the same. In a positive way, it calls for us also to make sure that we put in necessary investment in this port to keep being, a mile away from competition, if we must make sure that this port remains a port of choice. How do you do that? You must be able to listen to new ways of developing the port, attract more investments to the port, may require to have PPP projects, and we have promised this to the nation, that we will make sure that the Lamu port is functioning, we will make sure that we will have investors through PPP that will come and expand the Lamu port, and perhaps some berths also in this port. So you will help the government and the ministry and the port itself by being the thinkers along, think about our port in 2050. Don't think about your 3 years here. Think about 2050, and then what's your contribution for the 3 years, and maybe another 3 years, so at most 6 years. That is very critical. And the president himself has already led conversations with us in Nairobi, at the headquarters, together with various advisors, and we've listened to as many proposals. But now you are the port here. Eventually it will come to you, and you'll have to make a decision that is favorable.
And finally, residents of Athi River in Mavoko are alleging that land grabbers are trying to disinherit them through threats and forced evictions. Settlers in Munyeti Farm village are now living in fear after an unknown developer started fencing off the 2,100-acre piece of land in the area. The settlers say that the unknown people are taking advantage of the recent land demolition by the East Africa Portland Cement in order to evict them from their communal land. They also say that the heavy police presence has instilled fear amongst the residents. On Thursday evening, an excavator was seen in the area digging trenches in preparation for the construction of a perimeter wall around Munyeti Farm area. Residents claim to have copies of court orders from the Mavoko Land and Environmental Court.
Nyumba ndio hii imeporomoka na kisha mwenye amebomoa anabomoa na madharau.
We never knew that this was coming. There was no notice that was given for us for eviction. Society is still there, the office is still there, but right now you cannot access anybody because the officials, every official that you call, you try to call, they tell you that just wait, hold on, there's something we're working on it.
Nja ilikuwa ya kutoa kitambo, inasemekana ni za Portland shamba. Kuna mtu ameshika shamba hapo, hiyo ni yake, kwa hivyo mnipatie kura na mjue hii shamba ni lakini sasa hivi ile mambo imeenda mrama, yamebadilika.
Now we'll take a short break and we'll be right back with the sports news.